Hello and welcome to the program. I am Daniel Makwekera, coming to you from Kampala, Uganda, the home of the East African Development Bank. Now, starting a business can be quite daunting, and accessing funds through the commercial banks even more difficult. But for the East African Development Bank, these are the people they look for, people who can dream, people who have ideas and a drive. Come with me as I sit down with some of the people who have benefited from this philosophy.
The green and gold of Tanzania's biggest airline, transporting passengers across the region, Precision Air was founded in the early 90s. Today, the airline boasts a modern fleet of 10 aircraft. They include 5 70-seater ATR-72s, 4 47-seater ATR-42s, and 1 Boeing 737. 7 of these are brand new and were acquired under their fleet modernization program. Precision Air is also due to complete a new hangar at Julius Nyerere International Airport that will be the only full maintenance, repair and overhaul ATR service provider in East and Central Africa. The $5.4 million hangar was launched by the Tanzanian Minister of Transport, Omari Nundu. The hangar will provide a maintenance facility for the airline's fleet, cementing its place as Tanzania's leading airline. Michael Shirima is the chairman of Precision Air and is the founder of the airline.
Mr. Chairman, welcome to the program. Talk to us about the early days of Precision Air.
The early days of the company were very modest. We developed from an aerial spraying company, which means we had aeroplanes specifically made for the purpose of spraying chemicals to large estates, farms, which we're doing in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Malawi, Zambia. And as it happened, in the early 1990s, there was drought all over Africa. And therefore, the business of aerial spraying was not working because farmers were not willing to spend money on expensive aeroplanes, and then there was no guarantee of a crop. And therefore, we were kind of fallow, no work to do for 1 year, but we thought things will change, but they didn't. So that challenge brought the opportunity to start now a passenger carrying company in the beginning as a charter first. Our first aeroplane was a small 5-seater aeroplane, which was bought from a corporate company, but abandoned for about 15 years at the airport in Dar es Salaam. So I bought that, took time to fix it, and it flew again. And that was our first aeroplane for charter. And as we developed, Tanzania before was closed to private businesses, but it was starting to open up. And therefore, we started operating subsequently. After that aeroplane, I got to partnership with a venture capital fund, which took shares 33% and I 66%. And I was able now, with the money from the venture capital fund, to expand the service. And they purchased more aircraft, but still small aircraft. The largest was 12-seater Cessna aircraft. Old ones, because the aircraft were not being manufactured anymore. So that's when we started scheduled flights between Arusha and Zanzibar, and to the national parks in Serengeti, which is near to our center in Arusha. So in fact, the route that really made a big impact on us was between Arusha and Zanzibar. We are doing about 2 flights a day in the Serengeti. And then as we were operating the small aircraft, we realized we need to grow faster. We need bigger aircraft, which we increased the capacity by having more of those Cessnas. And subsequently, of course, Cessna's aircraft at that time were cheap to buy, but very expensive to operate. So we tried to get out of that. And we targeted the turboprop aircraft. That's when we wanted to purchase aircraft from Czech Republic, lead 410s. They are turboprop, and that required financing. We did another feasibility study, and this time the venture capital and I decided to go to East African Development Bank. That was around 98. We went to East African Development Bank, presented our case. I went to Kampala several times myself. Eventually, they were convinced there was a project here. And then the mode of financing they wanted to do was to take preferential shares in the company. I don't quite remember the exact amount. It was kind of hundreds of dollars. And then we got now into partnership with the EADB at that time. But that preferential shares, you know, the regulations of preferential shares is they are not ordinary shares. They've got their different class of handling. So that's how we really partnered with the EADB for the first time. And that enabled us to slowly phase out the piston engine, the Cessna kind of aircraft to turboprop.
Mr. Chairman, I'm told that the EADB's way of working is not here's the money and then goodbye. From your experience, what was the relationship? Is that what happened? They gave you the money and say goodbye, or they did work with you throughout the project after they dispersed the money?
After they dispersed the preferential shares, the EADB, certainly yes, they did continue a relationship with us. Very significantly, they were representing the board. There was a member of EADB in our board. And so through that relationship, EADB were kept abreast of the development of the airline and what impact the financing had done to the airline. And these preference shares were liquidated later on when we formed a partnership.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and we wish you well, and we hope you continue to help the airline when it needs you, even in your retirement. Thank you, sir.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
3 new aircraft are expected to be delivered this year, ensuring that Precision Air touches down at all times with the finesse of a growing concern. Just outside Arusha, near Mount Kilimanjaro, is Suba Agro Trading and Engineering, the dream child of Mahenya Muya. His businesses include a wide range of products, from the growing and processing of seeds, agrochemicals to tools and irrigation. Everything a small farmer would need to start up or keep a farm thriving. This plant specializes in the processing of seeds and offers a variety of options, from short-term to long-term seeds, something even the birds in the area can enjoy.
Mr. Muya, welcome to the program. Suba, talk to us about the beginning of the business, whether it was easy, difficult, and how you got even financing.
Yeah, the beginning of every business in Africa, especially in the socialist country like Tanzania, is very difficult. Mm-hmm. And my history starts in 1996, where I started business with $300.
$300?
$300. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
However, in 2005, EADB were able to give us a loan, which jump-started us to go to a higher stage. And
so how much was it, from 300 to, how much did you get from the EADB?
EADB, we got $500,000. And by that time, we had already accumulated our asset to a tune of about $500,000.
And then it grew?
And then by that time, actually, we were stuck because we wanted to improve the seed production, but we didn't have infrastructures. So we were hiring a lot of warehouses, small ones, and seeds need special type of warehouses where the aeration is enough, as you can see here. Mm-hmm. There is also enough light, so it was a problem. We couldn't move from where we were.
I see. So what do you really do here? I mean, I see seeds and bags of seeds. I saw guys packing there. Yeah. What exactly do you do?
We normally contract farmers.
Yeah.
And then we give them the basic seed or foundation seeds. They grow seeds for us. we bring them here, we start processing them. So what we are doing here is processing, cleaning, and also packing, ready for the market.
And then you sell it to...
We sell it all over the country. We have about 5 branches, which are distribution depots, where we have also staff who can do the promotion and everything.
Is this to the small men, or this is for large-scale farming?
If you see properly, the packing we are making are 2-kilogram pack.
Okay.
They are meant for small-scale farmers.
All right.
In Tanzania, unfortunately, we don't have commercial farmers.
So really, the people who feed the nation are
small-scale
subsistence farmers.
Yeah, subsistence farmers.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. How many people do you employ here?
We employ 82 permanent staff and more than 300, especially during the peak season of casual labor. Yeah, and mostly women.
And of course, that includes the outgrowers, or it does that?
No, it doesn't include the outgrowers. We have 40 outgrowers scattered all over the country, depending on the type of seeds we want to grow.
So Suba is really the industry in this region?
In fact, we are a leading company in Tanzania in terms of seed production, seed distribution, and the volume of seeds.
But that's from humble beginnings of $300?
Yeah, that's from humble beginning of $300.
And of course, people like EADB then helped the growth?
Yes, people like EADB, they were able to help us while we didn't have collateral as the other banks needs. So we just produced to them our cash flow, that our business was healthy, the title deed, as well as the business plan. And they were impressed. They said, okay, let's structure the loan according to this. And they helped.
And that's all you had?
Yes, that's all we had.
And they bought the idea?
They bought the idea, yes.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they are happy because the company has grown.
Yeah, the company has grown, and we've been servicing their loan very well. And in 2009, they increased their loan. So we were to increase the production after having the processing and the infrastructures for processing. So we wanted to have a farm. And then they gave us a loan to put the irrigation on farm, because you know weather is one of the limitations in production in this area.
Well, Mr. Muya, we wish you well and we wish you growth. Good talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
A business in full bloom, Jambo Roses is a rose farm situated in the Wakiso district in Uganda. It spans 12 hectares and almost 600,000 stems of roses are produced weekly. Everywhere you look, you will see delicate pink, luscious orange or a radiant red, and the perfume wafts through the many hothouses here. But owner Daniel Semtoke says that originally that wasn't always the plan for this farm. He lives in Sweden and in the early 90s wanted to use this piece of land that he had inherited. It was first meant to be a coffee plantation.
Mr. Kiriangu, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for inviting us to this very interesting place.
You are very welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Now, talk to us about that. That's why we are here. We want to understand the beginnings of this business.
I approached some friends
in
Scandinavia to try to convince them to join me and invest in the coffee plantation here. And we looked for a consultant. And within a short time, the consultant advised that coffee would be a very difficult venture here, and it takes quite many years before you get an income back.
Yeah.
So he talked about flowers, and that was something I never heard of. Growing flowers, and to whom we to sell to the flowers, and
you didn't even know. You didn't even know
anything. I was completely green, and I said to the guy, "How do you mean flowers? Flowers? Who buys flowers?" Yeah, he said, "But you know Kenya?" I said, "Kenya is a neighboring country." Yeah, but Kenya is one of the biggest supply of fresh cut flowers into Europe. Yeah, how do they do that? I mean, I can imagine these things, you cut them and they wilt in a day. How do they do that? So he suggested that we pay a visit to Kenya and have a look at the flower farm and see in practical terms how it works. And in '95, in October, we had the opportunity to visit Kenya, and that was my first time to come and have a look at a flower farm and how it functions. And I was amazed.
You were amazed about what they were doing in Kenya.
What they were doing.
And I suppose then you decided, well, let's bring the idea home.
And I said, let us bring the idea home.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Now, money is always an issue in things
Yes,
like this,
yes,
putting
yes,
seed
yes,
money,
yes.
trying to, and especially if you are wet behind the ears, as you said, really green in this. Talk to us about that. You come here, you try and find funding. What happens?
Obviously, in Uganda, as a country, it was not easy to find any good source of finance that is in line with an agricultural industry. Because in agriculture, you can't use this sort of short-term financing. It is always, you need some sort of long-term financing with soft loans and such things. So we found it a bit challenging here, but we approached some financiers from Norway, and in the end, we were able to put together a financing structure, which also, on one hand, included the East African Development Bank.
Okay.
So we had two financing arms. We had one from the Norwegian government through their International Development Corporation, NORAD, which was very, very favorable with a very low interest rate. Then the other arm was a Nordic financing line, which came through East African Development Bank, which was at the same time very flexible and easy to access due to the component of the shareholding we had in the company.
I see. So years have come and gone by, and you've been doing business, but the crisis hits. What do investors do? And I also want to hear what people like EADB had to say in a situation like that.
Well, I would say that EADB has been very helpful, considering the I would compare commercial banks, and because EADB is different in a way that it's an investment bank.
It is.
And it looks at investment in a different perspective than a commercial bank. EADB, they look on a long-term prospects of the investment, whereas the commercials, they look for short-term gains and interest sort of things. So EADB has been very helpful in that sense that they can listen. They try to understand the nature of the business, and there they can come in with the support, both financially and sometimes they advise.
And technical too.
Then, yes. And that has been very helpful.
Maybe in ending, however, I think they give you money to, to grow your business, but actually I think the end result is poverty alleviation through job creation.
Exactly.
Let's
because this area, before this project came to life here, this was an area with no income at all. And the population in this entire area, now today, they are entirely depending on this project. And the multiplier effect, you can... Being
an African, I understand what you're talking about.
Because there are so many ties attached to the project. The whole area here, all from here to the main road, the developments you see here, they are here because of this project. But before that, it was just only bushes. So you can imagine these salaries that are pumped in this area on a monthly basis over the past 15 years, of course, the developmental effect is enormous.
It is, and creating jobs permanent jobs.
Yeah, especially for the women. Our workforce is 65% women. So it's quite a very powerful investment in that sense.
But of course, you're a businessman, you want to stay in the black. Is it profitable?
The business is profitable. It always comes down on how you manage it. How you understand your markets. First of all, you have to learn the mechanism of the markets, how they work, and you have to follow with the market trends.
I see.
In that way, definitely the business is profitable.
To those people who have an idea in ending, those people who have an idea, maybe don't even have a business plan, and they think, well, even entering the gates of institutions like EADB, can I even enter? What advice would you give them?
You must always have a business plan before you enter in a banker's office to ask for any form of financing. I think it is very important. I mean, for any businessman without that sense of planning,
you might not be taken seriously.
No. I mean, you just don't. Let's just say you're a very rich man and you just decide that I had flowers are making quite a lot of money, and you just put the money there without a proper business plan. Of course, in the end, you lose it.
You lose that too.
Lose it.
So have a business plan.
Yes, it's very heavy, and you have to be persistent and very committed to make this business a success. It is like a military organization. It needs precision at all times.
Labor intensive.
Yeah.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much. And
Thank you
we
very
wish
much.
you all in the growth of the business.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jambo Roses has plans to export carnations and proteas, as well as undertaking field production of summer flowers and some fruits for export. Like a machine constantly turning, Bidco is a Nairobi-based firm that has become the largest and fastest growing manufacturer of vegetable oils, fats, margarine, soaps and protein concentrates in East and Central Africa. It's a family-based business that started with about 50 people. They now employ about 3,500 people. Bidco exports all across the region. Vimal Shah is a director at Bidco and says that the company started slowly, but their success was also due to the strategic partnerships that they had embarked on.
Vimal, welcome to the program. Please talk to us about the early days of Bidco.
Thank you, Daniel. Bidco started off in 1985. We actually had a vision around the 80 to 85 period when we said we'd like to go into soaps, edible oils, oilseed farming, the whole value chain from the soil to the frying pan. And with that dream in mind, we sort of started looking around and seeing where can we get the financing for a major project which would do farming, oilseed extraction, soaps, oils, the whole lot. And incidentally, we couldn't find any banker who could give us the financing for the whole lot.
Why not?
I was just out of university and I had no other background. I had a university degree and my father and my brother were together with me. And they asked us, what is your history in doing oil seeds and soap and oil? And we said, none, no experience yet. Well, we've got the idea, we've got the concept, and nobody would back that up. So in 1985, we started off from advice from one of the bankers who said, start small and then build up as you go along. So 1985, we started a soap industry in Nairobi. And then 1991 is when we started up our backward integration into oil processing. And that's the time when we put up a major plant here in Thika.
Well, I'm sure as you grew as a company, with growth comes the need for capital. What did you do then?
The biggest challenge in Africa currently is, or had been at that time, was the sourcing of capital. And especially when you've got a brilliant idea, you've got a university degree, you've got a whole plan. Financiers in Africa are looking for collateral. They're looking for somebody with track record. Have you done it before or not? And around that time we talked to EADB and EADB, and EADB just came in handy to say, okay, we will fund your project because it's a development project, and it's got a long-term vision to go backward into oilseed farming.
From what I've heard, we've traveled this region just talking to people like you who have worked with the EADB, is that it's not always the business plan that's important to them, it's the idea. Is that the experience you had with them when you decided to approach them?
Well, EADB was a development bank then, and still is, I'm sure. But they said, okay, if it's a development project, it's got regional development potential, which it had, of course, because we wanted to go into farming, and the ultimate aim was to go into oilseed processing and right into marketing of finished products.